Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Muhammad Zahin. Together with my group is going to explain what is happening to Miss Hani regarding the issue that she faced, starting by the problem scenario, especially of taxpayer, self-assessment system, SAS, amendment of return, offences and penalty, appeals, and towards our end, our conclusion. So wait for it. But I will explain the problem scenario. Miss Hanis, a well-known influencer from Malaysia, faced a problem whereas on her tax responsibility as an influencer earning over 3,000 monthly from sponsored brand content, paid reviews or online business conducted through social media platform. The primary issue Miss Hani faced a struggle to grasp the self-assessment system SAS and the specific protocol necessary to comply with the system in order to evade potential penalties. By clarifying Miss Hani's uncertainties and furnishing her with comprehensive explanation and systematic instruction for SAS compliance, tax authorities can not only aid her in fulfilling her tax commitment and self-employed individual operating through the main domain.
Now we move to responsibility of taxpayer. As a taxpayer, there are few things need to be new. The first one is registering for tax. Ms. Hanis is responsible for registering with the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, LHDM. If she fulfills the criteria for tax registration, this includes individuals who have taxable income, self-employed individuals, and business owners. And the second one is recording tax returns. Ms. Hanis must record the assessed returns precisely and on time. This incorporates announcing all sources of salary, derivation, and reliefs to decide the proper sum of charge payable. Failure to record assessed returns can result in penalty. The third one is submission of return. Ms. Hanis had to submit all the return form to IRB not later than 30 June every year. And the fourth one is paying taxes. Ms. Hanis is responsible for paying the correct amount of tax owed to the government. This include income tax, goods and service tax, GST, and other applicable taxes. And the fifth one is reporting changes. Ms. Hanis is responsible for informing the tax authorities of any changes in their personal or financial circumstances that may affect their tax liability. This includes changes in income, marital status, or any other relevant information. And the sixth one is cooperating with tax authorities. Ms. Hanis is expected to cooperate with the tax authorities during tax assessments, audits, or investigations. This includes providing accurate information, responding to inquiries, and attending meetings or interviewed as required. And the seventh one is paying estimated taxes. Paying estimated taxes is a responsibility primarily for individuals who receive income that object to withholdings. Estimated taxes are typically paid quarterly throughout the tax year.
Self-assessment requires taxpayer to calculate taxable income, compute tax, submit return, and pay tax for the assessment year. For Mr. Hanis, managing her online business and earning from sponsored content and review, she must file Form B, which combines various income sources including employment and business earning. Upon the submission of the income tax return form ITRF, no separate notice of assessment is issued as the ITRF serves as the final assessment notification. Section 68(6)(a) established a tax identification number (TIN) system to streamline tax process. The federal government aims to centralize taxpayer data using a single tax identification number granted by the Inland Revenue Board (IRB) to citizens aged 18 and above, regardless of income. This system ensures assessment and taxation of all individuals required to submit tax return effective January 1, 2022. Existing taxpayers in Malaysia continue using the income tax identification number. No new TIN are issued for them. Section 82 of the Act mandates business to maintain a record for 7 years after relevant year, including recipient with serial number for high-value transaction. Section 82A extends this requirement to individuals with job or investment income. Failure to return record without reasonable justification is penalty RM300 to 10,000, imprisonment up to 1 year or both. Under PCB, employers withhold tax money from employees' paycheck starting from year assessment 2004. Tax on investment and company income must be also paid in installment alongside employment income. The portion attributed to employment income is deducted from anticipated tax payable for year assessment 2023. Under Section 77B, effective year assessment 2009, taxpayer can revise their tax return within 6 months of submission to the IRB. The revised statement must include additional taxable income and the corresponding tax payable, along with the details and late payment penalty. Taxpayer can only revise their return once with the submission service as the notice of assessment. Any additional tax and penalty must be paid upon the submission of the debt return effective January 1, 2020. The penalty for additional tax payment during the amendment is 10%. An individual with income surpassing basic exemption limit must file income tax return with the Inland Revenue Board (IRB), providing details on income and deduction. Ms. Hanis must submit her return within the specified time frame. Additionally, she must declare earnings from various sources like bank interest, rental income, or capital gain from asset sales. Entities must submit the annual tax return within 7 months of the end of the accounting period, Ms. Hanis' income tax return will be reviewed by authorities annually. The deadline is June 30 for business income and April 30 for the non-business income. Submission is considered an assessment by taxpayer. Income tax assessment encompasses various types such as original, reduced, additional composite, increased advance, and protective assessment. Ms. Hanis' situation pertains to original assessment, where she, as the taxpayer assessment, her taxable income based on the particular in her return. In the absence of a return from Ms. Hanis' IRB officer can determine her taxable income and make assessment accordingly. The IRB can conduct supplementary assessment for Ms. Hanis within 5 years or 7 years for the transfer pricing issues from the end of the relevant assessment year. If she overpaid tax, she gets a refund. If she underpaid the receipt, she receives a bill. This time frame doesn't apply to cases involving fraud, willful default, or negligence by Mr. Hanis.
So now we'll move on to the next one, which is the amendment of tax return. So the first one is circumstances for amendment. Ms. Hanis may need to make a modification to their tax return for a number of reasons, including misdeduction or change in their personal situation. Revision are allowed for predetermined period of time following the first submission. For instance, fixing any mistake or inconsistency from the original file return in the main justification for updating a tax return. Furthermore, in the event that she learn of any new information or feeling, such as update employee statement, she will need to amendment return reflect this change accurately. So the second one is the deadline for amending tax return. In Malaysia, taxpayer have a deadline which they must submit amendment return. Ms. Hanis may self-amend the information or assessment on the Form B by 30 June for the income derived in the year assessment, or on the income tax return form that will feed to IRBM on the April 30. The Hasil Office that manage the taxpayer income tax file is where the ARF should be sent. A taxpayer may only make one self-amendment per year, and only if the ITRF was submit one time, the income tax return form may be amended by the taxpayer themselves to alter facts or assessment. So now the third one is the impact of the amending a tax return. By amending her tax return, Ms. Hanis can rectify an inaccuracy and ensure the taxpayer the correct amount of tax owed. It is essential to be transparent and proactive in correcting any errors to maintain good standing with the tax authorities. So for the last one, which is the consultation with the tax professional, Ms. Hanis could think considering getting a guidance from a tax expert or accountant experienced with Malaysian's tax rule. If she has any question about how to modify her tax return or require some help appropriate preparing the received return, Ms. Hanis should keep lines of communication open with the LHDN during the process of the making the modification. She should reply right away to any queries or requests for more details regarding to the update return in order to prevent any hold-ups or issues.
Now we move to offences and penalties that may affect Ms. Hanis, but I will explain some of them. For the first one is Section 112, Clause 1, where failure to furnish an income tax return form. And the penalties is RM200 to 20,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months, or both. 300% of tax payable in lieu of prosecution. The next one is Section 113, Clause 1, Clause B, where it's give any incorrect information in matters affecting the tax liability of a taxpayer or any other person, where the penalty is RM1,000 to RM10,000 and 200% of tax undercharge. And the third one is Section 114, Clause 1, where it willfully and with intent to evade or assist any other person to evade tax, where the penalties is RM1,000 to 20,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or both. 300% of tax undercharge. So, in conclusion, if Ms. Hanis doesn't follow any rules that stated there, she may face jail time as it is against the law to dodge your responsibility.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nofara Amira, and today I will be presenting about appeal. The taxpayer has the right to file an appeal if they feel that an IRB assessment is unfair to them. The appeal may be raised with the Special Commissioners of Income Tax within a specific time frame if the taxpayer and the IRB are unable to reach a consensus. Within 30 days of the day the notice of assessment was served, an appeal may be filed against assessments that the IRB has raised. Based on problem scenario, Ms. Hanis has right to appeal. According to Section 99, Subsection 1 of the Act provides that the taxpayer who is dissatisfied with an assessment made against her is entitled to appeal to the SCIT by submitting a notice of appeal, which is Form Q, with grounds for appeal. There is 4 types of assessment, which is assessment, advanced assessment, additional assessment, which is made as a result of a tax audit, field audit findings, or tax investigation, and the last assessment is best judgment assessment, which is made when there is no submission of a tax return or late submissions of a tax return. For assessment, additional assessment and best judgment assessment must be submitted within the 30 days after receiving of notice. But for advanced assessment, they must be submitted within the first 3 months of the year assessment following the year assessment was made. Other than that, Ms. Hanis also may apply for appeal to Federal Court. According to Section 96, Subsection A of the Courts of Judicature Act 1964 was amended by the Courts of Judicature Amendment Act 1955. With the amendment, the Federal Court can only hear an appeal from the Court of Appeal, provided such an appeal is heard by the High Court in the exercise of its original jurisdiction. As income tax cases are first heard by the SCIP, the High Court is merely exercising its appellate jurisdiction as opposed to its original jurisdiction. This will mean that the income tax cases will never be able to appeal to the Federal Court. It is therefore submitted that unless amendments are made to the Courts of Judicature Act, the highest court to hear income tax cases at the time will be the Court of Appeal.
So for the conclusion, basically we have learned that it is important for everyone to understand their responsibility as a taxpayer to prevent tax increase and avoiding having to pay a lot of money down the line. Taxpayer should hold onto all the receipt and the certified show to the IRB officer. This document can also help them with self-assessment and figuring out their tax on their own. Knowing the payment due date is crucial to dodge fines and penalty for the late payments. If you do get hit by a penalty, and you can appeal it and try and get it reduced. Ms. Hanis also could help by raising awareness on social media as an influencer, in the manner the public and other influencers can become aware of their duties. Everyone's ability to keep informed and comprehend tax matter will be facilitated, greatly simplifying the IRB officer job. Not to mention, it is our responsibility as a Malaysian citizen to understand and fulfill our tax payment obligation. If the taxpayer income is not fixed, they can request a reference from the IRB officer to obtain further details on how to compute the tax. The IRB officer will explain the proper process and action to follow in order to make the payment as requested in the IRB. This will making payment tax easier and eliminate any unclear issues.